Welcome to LUPIT'S Instagram Live interviews. Today we're going to be interviewing Jacob Harrison. Very excited, Mr. Pole Dance Australia 2021. Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? Say hello. Tell me where you are in from today. If you are coming on and you're a beginner pole dancer and you're just stuck in a little bit of a rut, then I do have a free gift for you over on my page. Check out my link in bio and take the free class up there. Otherwise, we are going to get chatting to Jacob Harrison about pole dance, about his very unique style, the lines. He's a very beautiful, ethereal, technical pole dancer with a unique style. And we're going to dive deep and figure out where that style emerged from, where it came from. So, hello everyone. Tell me where you're joining from. We'll just wait for Jacob to join us. I have a sneaking suspicion that Jacob's pole mama is another one of my favorite pole dancer ballerinas, Jennifer Grace, over at Pole Athletica, which I remember when I visited Australia, it used to be Studio Verve. So we might go down memory lane a little bit with that. So hi Jacob, I see you here. Just go ahead and press request to join the live and we will get a chattin'. And like I said, I'm thinking that maybe your pole mama is Jennifer Grace, who is a good friend and who I miss a lot. So if you get to see her a lot, then please give her a huge hug for me. I also see that just check to see. Oh, there we go. I also see, there we go, I'm on right now. I also see that Jacob, I think that you started. Hi Jacob, how's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you today.
Yeah, you too.
Am I right when I was saying that your pole mama might be Jennifer Grace?
You would be correct.
Ooh, I love that woman.
Yeah,
You better give
she's
her a
great.
big hug for me.
Yeah, it's so funny. She mentioned the other day that you guys you were over here and you did a show together and everything, and yeah.
Yeah, I was looking. I think that was a while ago. That was before it was Pole Athletica. It was back when it was
Yeah,
Studio Verve. So you're in
yeah,
Sydney then,
definitely.
right?
Yeah. Sydney CBD, like Surrey Hills. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yep. I think it's probably in the same location than when I came to visit then. Yes. So
Um, yeah,
maybe.
I know it's close, but a little bit further, like towards the CBD than Surrey Hills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have that beautiful ethereal lines, and I did some searching back into your history, and it looks like you're actually relatively new polar. Did you just fall in love with this so fast?
Yeah, it's honestly like I still feel like a baby polar, to be honest, and some people
Oh.
might think that's like interesting, but yeah, I kind of found pole sort of by accident. A good friend of mine who's actually our studio manager, Shay. He was working in a dance studio that I was sort of just taking like dance classes just for fitness and just for fun. And we sort of became friends and we chatted, and then he was like changing jobs and he was starting with Jen, and he started there and he was like, oh, you should come and try, like just come and give it a go, like it looks lots of fun. And I was like, I'm not sure, like I'm unsure, like I don't know how I feel about pole, like I've never really had anything to do with it or knew anything about it before. And yeah, he kind of like coaxed me into trying a class, and it was just like love at first sight, essentially. Yeah.
I love this. So I'm going to go here because I think that it is one of those things, especially for dancers of other forms. It looks like you were a ballet dancer and maybe, did different forms before you found pole, right?
Yeah. So I started dancing when I was, I think, 16. So the first time just took, like, funnily enough, a hip hop class. Which was, like, it was fun when you're like a teenager, you just like try new things like that. And yeah, like I did that for a while, and I tried a couple of different studios back like sort of near my hometown. And then one of my teachers, who I'm still good friends with today, and then she was like, oh, you should, again, coaxed me into it. It's like a theme, I guess. Just was like, you should try ballet, like just give it a go. And yeah, I did. And again, I just fell in love with it, and it just sort of became a part of my life. I mean, I only like I was still at school, so I was just sort of doing it in the evenings and everything. Um, yeah, and it kind of just grew from there. And then late teens, like early 20s, I was into like sort of like theater and film and that sort of thing as well. So I did a little bit of that in high school, and then ended up studying that a little bit after high school and went to Los Angeles for 2.5 years, and wasn't really focusing on dance whatsoever. And eventually got back into classes over there and sort of did it just as like fitness and fun on the side. And then when I came back to Sydney, dance just kind of felt like the right thing to do. So I kind of just made the decision then and there that like dance is what I want to do. I want to pursue this as a career. I want to go for it. I want to give it a go and just like get into it. And I kind of like trained for like 6 to 12 months just to get into like a full-time kind of course and school. And then I ended up getting into a contemporary school here, like sort of just outside of Sydney, and then transferred to like a ballet school after that for a while. And yeah.
So where were you with your ballet and contemporary when you found pole? Like where were you when pole came into your life? Were you still really heavily into like dance is
No,
my life?
no, I wasn't. So actually, I stopped training completely. Like I kind of got to a point where I was like thinking about like the future and like what, what is this going to give me? Like I think a lot of people do at some point if they, do dance as like a profession. And yeah, like it just wasn't really what I saw myself doing like in the future. And I kind of stopped, and it's kind of random and coincidental, but like I was in a bit of a car accident at the same time, and I had this like, I don't know, this sort of I can't even think of the word, but like I had this kind of all these thoughts started coming up, like, is this what I want? Is this what I want to do? And then I decided to not do it. And I got a job and just started working, and then realized again that I missed dance, and then just got back into it for fun. And then that's kind of when I found pole just after a while. And I was just enjoying, I was studying as well on the side. And yeah, and it's honestly sheer coincidence, I think. Like,
Yeah, I ask because I think it is a reoccurring theme, and I was curious, is that so many of us kind of had our dance life, put that on the shelf and said, okay, that's fine. I'm done with that. I'm supposed to grow up now.
yeah,
And then like
yeah,
start to like, and just as we were starting to do that and thinking that maybe dance was behind us forever, along came this pole dancing thing.
yeah, yeah. So
So
strange,
what
right? Like,
happened?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I remember when I took my first class, I had no idea what to expect. I was walking into this like pretty much blind, like apart from what my friend had like told me about it. And I just remember thinking afterwards, like, wow, like this is so interesting. It's really unique because it's like it's got elements of so many things. It's got obviously there's the calisthenic aspect of it, like it's body weight exercise. For me, like having like dance history and a dance background, I could sort of tie the dance element into it. And then it also felt like I was at the gym, and like I felt like I was maybe doing like some kind of like Pilates kind of like or yoga type movements. And it's just this interesting like hybrid way of moving your body, I think, which is really cool. Um,
Yeah,
and
check so many
I
boxes,
still
right?
stand by it. Like I think it's so good for you. Like I think it's so good for your body. If obviously if you're training safely and taking things at your own pace. And yeah, it's just yeah. I think it was meant to be when I look back on it. Really.
Yeah. Checked. So I feel like finding it again as like a total like return to dance, that there was a departure before. It's like it checks so many boxes, right? It
Yeah, it
feeds so
does.
many parts of the soul that you thought like, oh, I have to put that away forever.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't. Maybe there is this other, way in which I can continue to do this. So what does your life look like now? How is pole a part of your life? Is it all day, every day for you? Or are you working, you do have other things that you're working on? Or you just teach a lot, train a
Yeah.
lot? What does it look like?
Look, I wish it was all day, every day. It's not at the moment, you know, hopefully down the track at some point I can, you know, make that transition and do that kind of, I guess, working day, if that works out. Um, but yeah, I teach at Pole Athletica where Jen is. And yeah, I'm there during the night. So I teach 4 nights per week at the moment. Um, just sort of like technique classes, and also like do like a combos class with a bit of choreography in there as well. And yeah, like I'm working in retail during the days, a couple of days a week at the moment as well, just to sort of, you know, like keep everything going and like, you know,
Yeah, you
yeah,
know what? I was thinking, you say 4 days a week, you're already teaching. That sounds like plenty to me. It's almost like there
yeah,
is these major pluses and minuses. Like if you were teaching more than that, you probably wouldn't have as much time to focus on the joy of it for yourself. I feel like I talk to so many people where it's like, yeah, there's pluses and minuses to doing it all day,
yeah,
every day, because if you're teaching
yeah,
all the time, you
for
don't get to
sure.
have
Like,
like pure joy, you know?
yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think there is definitely an element of that, but I think if you prioritize some time and set some time aside for yourself where you're not, you know, like in my case, I think like one of the biggest things that takes up most of my time when I'm like kind of doing my class prep or anything like that is preparing for like the combos or the choreography class, because it is all content that I have to create myself.
Yeah.
So um yeah, like I think just making sure you like do your best anyway to try and incorporate some time in your week just where you can not even have any expectations on yourself. You just have a play and try some things, or if you've seen some tricks you'd like to try and that sort of thing. I think that's like an important part of like the week for not just an instructor really, but anyone that just wants to try and just train.
Yeah, the balance is so key, especially when you're a teacher and like a teacher or a studio owner, you know, it's part of your job. Yeah, it's really hard for it to
Yeah,
find the time to set aside that time to make sure it's for your own love and for your own joy and for your own
yeah.
training.
It is
Yeah,
fun
for
though.
sure.
Like I really do enjoy um, teaching actually, which is also something I never even saw myself doing. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and it just was kind of like a pleasant surprise. And I really do get quite a big kick out of teaching, and I just love seeing people progress. And yeah, just like, you know, when you see students and they like get a skill they've not gotten before, or they've been trying for a long time, it's just it like, yeah, it just warms your heart. And like I think that's just really really cool. Yeah.
wow, that's something else that pole brought to your life. Because
Yeah.
had you in the past taught other forms of dance, or was pole the first time you've really
No.
been able to be in that teacher position?
Yeah, and I've never taught anything before. It was just,
Oh,
yeah, just pole. Yeah.
wow, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
pole is a really fun thing to teach because the rewards are great, aren't they?
Yeah, it's interesting like seeing occasionally you have like, you know, students that you've seen start from like absolute beginner, they've never done it before, and then next minute before you even know it, it's like been what like a year or something, and they're doing all these inverts and or whatever they're doing, and they're doing these tricks and they look super bendy or flexible, and you're like, what is happening? Like you look amazing. You know, like
Yeah,
yeah, it's a really cool job for sure. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about how you got roped into the competition world.
Oh, yeah, like I think something that piqued my interest when I started was obviously like Mr. Pole Dance is the competition that I've done a few times now. And I was sat in the audience watching, like just, you know, I think it was, I don't know if it was the first year that I was polling or it was the second year I was polling. Um, yeah, we went to watch and it was great. And I just remember thinking, wow, like look at all these people like doing all this crazy shit with their bodies. Like, look at that. They look so good. Like, it's like so impressive. Like, that's so amazing, you know? And like, I was just in awe of all um, these guys doing their thing. And yeah, and I kind of just decided like, oh, you know, I'm going to work towards that, but I kind of didn't like, I was a bit shy about it. I just sort of was trying to just like work on myself a little bit, and then, you know, like maybe let's see next year how I'm going. And then I think people kind of cottoned onto that and encouraged me a bit more to do it. Yeah, and I kind of just took a bit of a leap of faith and just gave it a go. And I think people responded quite well to like my style, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a little bit unique, I think, in the way I move my body. Yeah, and I just like, it just kind of happened from there, and I did it one year, then I decided to do it the next, and then I did it again, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of grown from there, and now like I really enjoy putting together like a piece or a routine, and just trying to like figure out like what I want to do, what I, you know, want to portray, or, you know, how do I want to move, and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you describe your style and how it came to be? Like, what built your style? Who were, and you know, inspirations, or are you taking a lot from your previous dance training, or where do you think your style is drawing from?
I think like in terms of lines, like people tell me like a lot that I have like good lines and that sort of thing, which is really nice. And I think I learned to really, really appreciate that, like above a lot of other things from dance, obviously, and ballet and that sort of thing, because ballet is all about like good lines, and, you know, it's like very aesthetic. And yeah, and I that's definitely something that I think I've retained from like having classical dance training. But in terms of like the, I don't know, like the way I move my body feels good for me. And I think it like sometimes like when I'm like choreographing or whatever, and we're doing, or in a class and like I'm moving, sometimes I'm like, oh, like this is actually like a really weird shape. Like it's not actually pretty at all, some of the shapes and lines that I do, but it's interesting. And I think I don't know, like I'm really fascinated by flow and interesting shapes, and also mixing that with like, you know, classical lines and that sort of thing. It's not something that I like have to think too much about for me and my body, but I know sometimes when like I'm teaching it, it can be quite difficult to try and teach that to someone, to teach like lines and aesthetics to someone, or interesting shapes, and they're like, what are we doing right now? We're just like punching and like making a strange shape with our hands. Like, what is this, you know? But yeah, I don't know, I think it's just kind of grown into its own kind of thing. Yeah, I definitely pulled from dance, but yeah, I think I'm just sort of, yeah, I like to sort of watch choreo I do a lot, like on myself. Like I like to watch how I'm moving in the mirror and being super aware of that. And I find like after a while, once my body, like the muscle memory kind of kicks in, and I know what the shape is and how to make the shape, I kind of switch off and it just happens. And then I'm thinking about like the other things, you know, like, I don't know, like maybe your face, or like whatever else is happening, or the feeling that you're having, like, or whatever the song is like evoking in you, and that sort of thing, you know? Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love hearing about people's creative processes. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually go with a song first, I think, and then that kind of like brings up, I guess, maybe shapes or something like that. And then I kind of just, I don't know, I don't really always start from the start of the song. Sometimes I have like a shape I want to do, and like this part of the song, because it like that looks really nice, and like that just works with the vibe and the aesthetic, and then I kind of like would build around that. Or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. I kind of describe that kind of working like kind of like a puzzle, you know, where it's like when you pour out all the pieces at the beginning, it can be really overwhelming. But
Yeah.
when then the idea is to go with the path of like least resistance. Like, oh, there's all the blue pieces. Let's just shove the
Yeah.
blue pieces over there and the orange pieces over there, and maybe look at
Yeah.
some edges and put some edges together. And then, you know, sometimes, you know, you're like, oh, these three pieces go together. So in your mind,
Yeah.
you're like, that's where that shape goes in the
Yeah.
routine, and then you can build off of those three pieces you've already started, no matter where they are in the actual routine, and
For
you just
sure.
build out from there. I think it's really cool because so many people think, oh yeah, I have to start from the beginning. No, 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 no. Just
Yeah.
keep following your path of least resistance until that sucker's done, you know?
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I agree. And I like, yeah, it's funny. Like sometimes when you do that, like I often get stuck. It's not actually um, like necessarily the sequences on the pole or the start. It's always the pieces that go in the middle of it. Sometimes I really struggle with that, and it takes me like hours just to figure out like I don't know, like 15 seconds to like link two things together. Like it's yeah,
It's almost like as it's like more pieced together and there's less seconds to fill, it becomes so much more important as to
yeah,
what is filled into those seconds.
yeah, for sure. It's
Whereas in the beginning, you're just blazing through because you're just adding what feels, you know, what feels right. But then when you have very small holes, you're like, oh, it's got to be really good to fill these little ones. Yeah. I
yeah,
love
that's
the,
super interesting.
yeah,
Mm.
that's great. Um, Tell me about like for you, I was going there a little bit before, but I want to touch on it more because I think that this does happen a bit. And if we can get some thoughts or just some experience. So you were talking about how when coming from, you know, the dance world in a different form and hearing about pole and going, I don't really know about that. I feel like
Yeah,
this happens a lot.
yeah,
So I want to like, what were the thoughts and the feelings that were coming from, I'm not sure if I should try that, or I'm not sure if pole dance is for me, or I'm not sure if that's my thing. Like, I think it's
yeah,
really good to talk about it because I think a lot of people do go through it. So,
yeah,
what
for
was
sure.
like that for you?
I think with me, I just didn't know. I just didn't know about it. Like, it's not something, I mean, yeah, it's not something I think unless you're actively looking for it. It's not something, at least in my experience anyway, that was popping up in front of me for me to watch or to see. You know, it's not something that I knew anything about other than what, you know, you might have seen in a movie or like whatever. Like, and yeah, it's, I tried to be, I tried to be really open minded about it. And obviously I did go to the class. So if that tells you anything. Um, but yeah, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what I thought, but I just didn't know what to expect. I think I didn't know if I was going into like an exotic style class, or what, like, I didn't know, like, and I didn't know that there was such a thing as like pole fitness and, you know, contemporary pole and lyrical pole and all these other forms that I love, you know, that I never would have even thought exist. So I think, yeah, I just don't think I was like, I wasn't very educated on it. I didn't really know. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think it's interesting. Like what you're saying is that like maybe in your head you associated pole dance with the style. And it's interesting as you become more educated and as you found out like pole isn't a style. It's just the definition of pole dance is that you are dancing with the pole.
It's an apparatus. Yeah.
Right. It's an
Yeah.
apparatus. It's not a style, which is so interesting
Yeah.
because we think of other forms of dance. We say, okay, ballet or, you know, jazz or modern or African. Like we think about these styles of dance that well, when we say them, that we are envisioning the style. And
Mm.
with pole, the definition is that you are dancing with a vertical bar, but pole dance itself is not a style. So I always thought
Right.
that that was really cool. Tell me about what happened when you found that out? When you get like when you first realized, oh shoot, pole dance is not a style. I can use everything I ever have known from dance in this form. Like, did you go
Yeah.
down like some crazy Instagram rabbit holes or what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. Like, I think I started like I think the turning kind of point for me was once I kind of went and saw a show. Like when I went and saw Mr. Pole, for instance, like I was seeing all these different styles of these guys doing, you know, like the exotic style with heels, or there was like a guy barefoot that was doing exotic, or, you know, there was a guy that was barefoot that was a bit contemporary, and one was really interpretive. And I was like, this is really insane. Like this exists in the world and people don't even know about it, you know? And I think like now it is growing in popularity as well, like the other styles, like things like lyrical and contemporary. I think it is gaining more popularity or gaining more exposure anyway, because there are more people doing it, I think. Even in the short amount of time I've been involved in pole, which is like only like 5-ish years or something, or maybe 5 years, I
Wow.
don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess that was when I started seeing other people doing it. I was like, wow, okay, like this could be a thing. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, weren't those the good old days? It's such a magical time, just the beginning of someone's pole journey. I look back on those days with such fondness. Like when it comes
Yeah.
to my own journey, you just kind of go, "Wow, it was like the sky was the limit. There was so much to learn." And it still feels that way. There's always still so much to learn, and I feel like I never get bored of it still. And it's been,
Yeah.
it's been a long time.
I still have those like wow moments, you know, like when you like see a skill and you're like, oh my gosh, like wow, how is that even possible? Yeah, like yeah, it's fun. There's literally endless variations and like skills happening, and it's just like so stimulating. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you see pole dance in your life, and the 2-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, out of curiosity?
Mm. Oh, these year plan questions.
Or do you just live
Oh,
in the moment?
yeah. No, like, look, I think like I definitely don't plan on going anywhere. Like I plan on polling and teaching and, you know, competing or performing, still. Like I, you know, like I said, I still consider myself like not such a baby polar, but a baby polar in terms of like the time I've been doing it. It's really not been that long. So I have all these like skill goals that I want to do, but like obviously with when, you know, those crazy bendy flexy crazy crap that you see everyone folding themselves in half on the pole, that takes a long time, and it takes patience and understanding your body and yeah, just like training, I guess, and all those things take time, and I'm definitely headed down that road where I want to do some bigger stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe one day, maybe see myself having a studio or something. I'm not sure. It's very early days still, I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm definitely plan on staying in this community and yeah, really advocating for it, I guess, because I love it, and I reckon people that don't know about it may actually love it if they found out how diverse it is. You know, there's people all shapes and sizes and ages of people do pole. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How
yeah, we'll
about
see.
and since you are relatively new, you it started maybe around 2017-ish. Is that around kind of?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I think so. From memory,
Yes.
I have to find out. Actually, I can never remember.
So curious, how has your family and your friends been super supportive of your journey? How has that been for you?
Yeah, I think yeah, they've been fine actually. Like I think my parents were a little bit confused when I told them I was going to do a pole class at the first time. Um, yeah, they're fine. They get it. They're all for it. They like come to the like my comps and my performances. They're proud as peach. Like they're right up there. They love it, which is so awesome because it's something that their generation probably wouldn't ever have been exposed to, you know, and had the opportunity to go and watch things like this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my friends have just always been supportive, and they always are. My partner's super supportive. Um, yeah, I couldn't ask for a better group of people.
Yes, that's wonderful. I always, especially, I like to hear both stories, people who have no dance background who come into pole, and how, friends and family, that journey was for them, but also people who come from a dance background where their family and friends are used to seeing them in a very particular way with the styles in which
Yeah,
they dance, and then what that
yeah,
shift is.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure there's definitely people out there that go through that, and you know, maybe it's a little bit harder for them, but yeah, like yeah, people just need to, I think, open their eyes a little bit more and like just understand what pole is about, and like yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What would you say to someone who's like on the outside looking in, maybe a little bit curious about it, but not sure if it's for them, who's really, really on the fence about going to their first pole class? What would be your advice to them?
I would just say, just put aside any misconceptions you have about it, because a lot of people do, I think, and just give it a try. Like if you hate it, you never have to do it again.
Yeah.
and I doubt that they would hate it, to be honest. Like it's a lot of yeah,
We say that because we just love it so much, and we know what it does
yeah,
for our students too, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just give it a go. Let's give it a try. Like there's all sorts of different studios out there that sort of cater to sort of different styles. So it's there's a lot of choice really out there to sort of have a play and just sort of see what you like and see what you're looking for and just give it a go. Why not?
That's a really good point too. That if you come into pole and maybe it doesn't feel like the right atmosphere or the right style or the right culture at a studio or with the people that you're doing with, gosh, there's so much to choose from. So don't just like throw up your hands.
No, yeah,
There's a home for you,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like dance, right? Like there's so many different dance classes out there, and you pick one style of dance and you go and see one instructor, and they have a style, and then there's another instructor that it's the same style, but they move differently. Like kind of echoes a little bit of that. Like you just have to sort of find your little like pole community, I guess, would be something I would suggest to them. Like everyone sort of eventually finds a little pole family, and it's just like a little family. Like it's just great. Everyone supports each other, and everyone's there for each other, and yeah.
Yeah. Who would you say are there either inspirations or even just like people in your pole journey who have nurtured you and who have ushered you down your way?
Yeah. Um, First and foremost, Jen, because she's encouraged me from day dot. She's given me a lot of opportunities, which I am eternally grateful for. Like I love her to pieces. Um, and just yeah, like just my friends really. Like even studio manager Shay, we both have a dance background. Like he knows what that world is about. We don't really train together, but he knows how I move, and I kind of know the way he moves. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a spot. Can you come upstairs and help me, please? And then yeah. So like, and just all of my pole family at the studio, to be honest, we all support each other. We're all there for each other. Um, yeah, yeah. Like, gosh, and everyone that I've met, really, I haven't met anyone that's not been supportive, which goes to say something about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I also curious, speaking on that thought just made me think of something.
Mm.
It is a unique situation to come from the dance world and then come into the pole world, and something that sometimes like something that I kind of experienced was coming from the dance world and very, very competitive, like commercial dance world, and then finding pole at a later time in my life.
Mm.
I was just floored and amazed by the different kind of atmosphere and culture that pole held. I went from, you go from, gosh, the insane cutthroat competition where people are not really wishing each other well, into all of a sudden, like, everyone's like, hey, we're competing against each other. Should we just like train together and have a great time?
Yeah,
Like, do you know what
it's
I mean? Like,
insane. I know, it's so strange. Yeah, because like for sure, like I've definitely witnessed both sides of that firsthand.
exactly.
And it is so different. That's what I mean, like, look, this is speaking generally, right? Like this isn't, I don't know about all competitions out there in the pole world, but the ones I've done and been in and the people I've been surrounded with, I was quite taken aback by how friendly everyone is. Like yes, this is a competition, but like no one's acting like it is. Like it's
Yeah.
just like I was really kind of like that really interested me, and like I was like, wow, like everyone is just like here. We're just doing our thing. Like we all just like love this for whatever reason, whatever pole means for each of us individually, and we're just here and we're gonna do this. And yeah, and everyone's just cool. And like yeah, it was just such an interesting vibe. Like all of the shows I've done, really, everyone's all super chatty and happy to chat, or it's yeah, it's really really interesting, I think.
I'm wondering if it has to do with like, obviously pole's kind of a new, a lot newer than some of the other stuff, but also like in the way that, sure, there is a pole foundation, but it's not from the beginning, it's not this experience that that is encouraged to be cookie cutter, right? There's something like when you go to a competition, you're competing against all these people in the pole world. There is this like real appreciation for people's differences and their strengths, and like, oh my gosh, like the way that you do that is so amazing. I would never even think to do that. And like, I'm doing something completely different up there tonight. And so I think, you know, I wonder if it lends itself to the idea that pole is not necessarily a style. So there's so much that can be done that it's almost like the appreciation for everything that is just like so different. There's, when you go to a pole show, you're not going to watch like a show with all the same style going all across. You know, you're really just going to see so much whatever variety, whatever these people can come up with this apparatus is the only really thing that is the, you know, the common thing that's going on.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think it would be almost impossible to have everyone be cookie cutter, because we none of us come from the same background. We're all different people. We all have different bodies, you know, different length limbs, mobility, flexibility, style. You know, I'm 100% at this point not dynamic on static whatsoever. I know this, and it's something that I would like to work on in the future. Spin is like where I feel comfortable. And yeah, like I guess the people that perhaps come from like a gymnastics background, they might feel more at home there, you know? So it's so interesting. Like, there's no way it could be cookie cutter, because we all just don't, like, we're just from different worlds, like, you know? Yeah.
I really love that about pole. Well, this has been such a lovely conversation. It's nice to kind of chat on all those little interesting things about coming from a world of dance into a world of pole, and those, how it's different, how it's the same, where the crossover happens, and how the culture feels different, you know, to people who have dedicated their lives to dance. So this has been super awesome, Jacob. Where can we see you perform next? We'll see you on the Mr. Pole Dance stage again?
Yeah, I'll be there next year for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. All right, everyone.
All right, well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Jacob. Yes. Everyone, go have a follow Jacob's journey, because there's so much love in this pole world, and there's so many ways to be inspired. So go check it out. He's in Sydney. And Jacob, it was wonderful to be with you today.
Lovely to meet you, Sergia. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye.
See you. Bye.